So first up, grammar MCQ. My neighbor blank car has just passed us is a famous chef. So the car here belongs to my neighbor. So which one is used to show belonging? That would be number 4. Whose? Question 2. If Louis is late in submitting his work again, hang on. If Louis is late, so we're using the present tense, aren't we? So reprimanded is out. Would is in the past tense. Would is in the past tense. So the only acceptable one would be number 2. Grace and blank will be assisting. So ask yourself, I will be assisting. Sound good? Not bad, yeah? Me will be assisting. I don't think so. Her will be assisting. Him will be assisting. Well, the answer is number 1. When it comes to neither nor, either or, we look at the subject closer to the verb, or rather the noun closer to the verb, all right? And this is the subject here, host, and there's only one host. So here we will choose the singular form. Now, why has though? Has heard the commotion? Well, number 1 is heard the commotion. That doesn't sound good at all, right? So have heard the commotion is wrong because host is singular. So the answer is number 3. So see, there's a verb here, made, and then there's an object here, made John, and then there's a verb here. All these are verbs. Okay, and when it comes to the VOV rule, we choose the root. Made John scrub the floor. Sometimes it's the ing, but in this case, it's the root word, scrub. Question 6, there's a misprint here. It should be thousands. Thousands of people will starve. Blank emergency food supplies arrive. Well, the answer is number 2, unless the good thing happens, which is the arrival of the emergency food supplies. John's dream is, well, we are going to use the gerund, traveling with the ing, is traveling around the world. So traveling is now used as a noun over here with the ing form. His dream is a thing. What thing is that? Traveling around the world. Question 8, you see would here in the past tense. So if she had arrived, number 3, okay, so we will use this part here. Okay, had arrived, she would not have missed the train. Now, actually, did she miss the train? Yes. Did she arrive sooner? Nope. She's wishing that she had arrived sooner. So this is what we call the subjunctive mood. You don't need to know that for sure, but yeah, this is how it works. Stephen lodged a complaint, blank the shopkeeper who sold him a defective product, a product that was not working well. So in this case, it's against, a complaint against. So prepositions. Question 10, the 2 commas rule. So we ignore completely what's inside the 2 commas. The subject here is son, and son is singular. Next month, we are using the future tense. Because we are using the future tense, we are not using the past tense. Anyway, the answer is number 1, is going for the immersion program next month. Vocabulary. The twins have been studying very hard as they want to blank a good secondary school next year. So which phrasal verb do we use? The answer is number 4. Get into a good secondary school. To ease the blank on the roads, the transportation minister announced new measures to control vehicle growth. So to control vehicle growth, to reduce the number of vehicles that are growing each year, well, the answer here is that the roads are too crowded. And the word that shows being blocked, right, is number 4, congestion. So traffic congestion looks like this. Nasal congestion is having a blocked nose, and that's when you blow it out. Okay, so the answer is number 4. New Year is a time of celebration that a blank of the people look forward to. Well, a lot of people, so a majority. Not all, but a large proportion. Red is considered blank color during Chinese New Year. It symbolizes good luck. So things that symbolize good luck will be like the 4-leaf clover, the rabbit's foot, and in this case, red as a color for the Chinese. So which one means lucky? The answer is number 3. As war broke out, many poor people sought. Now, sought is the past tense of seek. All right, so seek blank in the neighboring country. So they are seeking refuge. In fact, the people seeking refuge, seeking safety, are called refugees. And this is what a refugee camp looks like. In case you don't know how it's spelled, it's spelled like this, with a G-E-E at the back. Tea or coffee, which drink is better? Countless arguments have been waged, have been fought, okay? And it's like treating the arguments like war, you know, okay? But yeah, countless arguments have been made over the superiority of one beverage over the other. So which one is better? Many people disagree or agree. For many, the caffeine kick is the primary reason we choose either beverage. So both of them have caffeine, and that's the main reason. Anyway, countless arguments. The answer here is countless debates, number 3. Okay, where you are debating ideas saying, oh, A is better. No, 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 B is better for reasons 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a debate. So countless debates have been waged. Now, next one, primary reason, which is the correct word here. The main reason will be number 2. In fact, if you play video games that say the primary weapon, that's basically the main weapon, the weapon that's used most often. Alright, so much to everyone's surprise, scientists deduced that increasing the caffeine dose in tea to the same level as coffee makes it just as powerful as a wake-up call as coffee. So scientists deduce, they conclude. Perhaps the biggest difference between coffee and tea may become evident once your head hits the pillow. So the biggest difference between coffee and tea may become obvious, may become evident. The answer will be may emerge, actually, right? May emerge once your head hits the pillow. So, okay, researchers confirmed that although both drinks lend similar benefits to your attention during the day, coffee drinkers tend to find it harder to sleep at night. So this is another way of saying, you know, the giant difference between coffee and tea, all right, is that coffee keeps you awake at night much more than tea. Tea drinkers, in contrast, have more restful and sustained sleep. Sustained is basically to be able to keep going. All right. So in this case, it's sleep that can be maintained. Right. The answer is uninterrupted here. Uninterrupted sleep. Hence, tea offers many of the benefits of coffee without the sleepless nights. All right. Visual text. National Sports Hub presents. So it looks like this is the organizer. All right. Family Weekend Sports. So, well, that's the title. Parent and Child Tag Rugby. Journey with SRU on a 4-session program for a thrilling non-contact version of rugby. How does that work? Non-contact version. So, number 1, you're involving adults and children. Non-contact, which means how are you going to grab the ball? You're not going to touch each other. Interesting. For both adults and juniors. National Sports Arena is where it's held, and the cost is $100 for 4 sessions, which is $25 per session. Next, Scuba and Snorkeling Fun by Singapore Underwater Federation. Start snorkeling early, build water confidence and discipline before future expeditions into deep blue sea with the family members. So in this case, we are not actually going out to sea, you are just practicing at a pool. It's at the National Aquatic Centre, $240. Again, a family program. Singapore Basketball Association presents Great Basketball Fun. Learn to shoot some hoops. Shooting hoops is another way of saying play basketball on the weekends with your loved ones. 4 sessions, all right, for both adults and children. Recreational Centre is the venue at $120. Okay, registration information. Visit the website. Okay, for details on the dates and time, call number or email. 2 asterisks here. All scuba lessons are conducted by qualified instructors, and participants are required to have attained at least the intermediate level of Singapore Swimming Proficiency Award. So the children and the adults looks like they have to have a minimum ability in swimming. Okay, sponsors. The main one is OBCA Bank. Co-sponsors will be Old Gumnut and Healthy Lifestyle Private Limited. More information, benefits of regular exercising. Well, this is about promoting exercise and activity between families. Exercise controls weight. Exercise coupled with healthy eating, together with healthy eating, can help prevent excess weight gain and maintain weight loss. When you engage in physical activity, you burn calories. The more intense the activity, the more calories you burn. Well, partly true. You don't need to set aside a lot of time for exercise to reap weight loss benefits. You can't do an actual work. If you can't do an actual workout, maybe you have physical conditions. All right, get more active throughout the day in simple ways, by taking the stairs instead of the lift, or by increasing the amount of time spent on household chores. Exercise combats health conditions and diseases. So exercise fights off health conditions and diseases. Worried about heart disease, hoping to prevent high blood pressure, no matter what your current weight is, being active boosts your immune system and improves your blood flow. In fact, regular physical activity can help you prevent or manage a wide range of health problems and concerns, including stroke, diabetes, certain types of cancer, and arthritis. Exercise improves mood. So we have got weight loss, we have got fighting health conditions, now we have improving your mood, making you a nicer person to be around. Need an emotional lift or need to take the edge off a stressful day, in other words, relax after a stressful day. A workout at the gym or a quick 30-minute walk can help. Physical activity stimulates various brain chemicals that may leave you feeling happier and more relaxed. You may also feel better about your appearance and yourself when you exercise regularly, which can boost your self-confidence and improve your self-esteem, the amount of respect you have for yourself. Lastly, exercise can be fun. Right, to spend some time, it is fun, it gives you a chance to unwind, not unwind. Unwind here means to relax, enjoy the outdoors, or simply engage in activities that make you happy. Engaging in physical activities can also help you connect with family or friends in a fun, social setting. Yes, you can connect with family and friends over a big pot of steamboat or whatever. Yeah, okay, eating lots of food, sure, but in this case, it's healthy as well. So take a dance class, shoot some hoops, remember that means to play basketball, or join a soccer team. Find a physical activity you enjoy and just do it. If you get bored, try something new. The source is from this website, Bio Clinic. To take part in scuba and snorkeling fun, you have to be an instructor. No. All right. Swim well. Sure. Okay. Start snorkeling at an early age. No, it's not mentioned there. Go for an expedition in the sea first. My goodness. No. Okay. So the ability to swim is a prerequisite, is a requirement actually. It's mentioned here. So the answer here is number 2. Question 22, which one is not correct? So we are looking for 1 cross and 3 ticks. Number 1, tech rugby is the most affordable to join. If you look at the prices, yeah, it's true. Basketball lessons do not require prior experience. Do they require experience before you sign up? Not really. All participants, for registration, you're not to email them, right? This is for dates and time, okay? This is more to register, you have to visit the website. And next, it is true that the aquatic center will be where these 2 activities will be held. So number 3 is the one that we're looking for, the one that's wrong. Who is the main organizer? So organizer here does not refer to sponsors. So these guys are not what you're looking for. The organizer here is actually the National Sports Hub. Number 2. Mr. James and his wife love nature and the outdoors. Which program would you recommend them to take up? So nature though, is that basketball? Not really. Okay, it has to be number 4, experiencing nature under the sea, snorkeling, scuba diving. Based on the flyer, you can still lose weight without doing regular exercise by, if you can't do an actual workout, okay, without doing regular exercise, by living a stress-free life? Not really, okay. How about the household chores part? Yeah, so the answer is number 4, okay, by increasing the amount of time spent on household chores. Benefits of regular exercising is in a different font and font size. So this is larger and it's a different type of font from the rest of the flyer. Why do they do that in terms of presenting the text, right? The answer is number 2, to highlight the advantages of exercising. It's basically to draw attention, to highlight, okay, information here. That's why when we design posters, okay, we use larger words when we want to highlight the point. According to the flyer, regular exercise can cure cancer. Well, we wish, all right. Change what you eat. How can exercise change what you eat? Not really. Nothing mentioned about increasing your brain power and making you smarter, but it can improve your blood flow. As mentioned here, it's another way of saying improve blood circulation. What is the main purpose of the flyer? Well, all that talk about family and all that, right? And it's not about weight loss, okay? It's about promoting family bonding through sports, number 2, okay? Not so much the community, not to introduce the facilities, all right? But improve family bonding through sports. And to the next section, we got our grammar close. It had been a tough day. Blank dawn, our expedition had been pushing through a swamp in the rained forest. So the answer here is since dawn, our expedition had been pushing. So dawn as in what? The start of the day, at sunrise. We had to struggle through mud and evil smelling water blank to our waist at all times. So to our waist is important here. The water level was up to their waist at all times. So very foul, bad smelling water. Above us arched a canopy blank dense that it cast a gloom across the ground. So in this case, so dense that it cast a gloom across the ground. So they were walking under the canopy. Now, what is the canopy here? The canopy here is basically the tops of the trees. So these are the canopies of the trees forming like a blanket, isn't it? So imagine if you're walking at ground level and all the leaves are blocking the sunlight. It may even look like it's nighttime when you're walking on the forest floor. Yeah. So the canopy refers to the tops of the trees. Another word for canopy also refers to the glass covering the pilot there. So the part that's covering the pilot. Yeah. So that's called the canopy, this part here. Right. So the canopy of trees, the canopy of a fighter jet. In this case, all right, there was the cover of the trees formed by the leaves, and it was so thick, so dense, that it seemed like they were walking in shadow. Armies of mosquitoes were swarming blank us when the jungle suddenly, swarming around us when the jungle suddenly echoed with war cries. Tom, my guide, grabbed my arm. Okay, so somebody's crying out in a very loud way before they fight or something, right? They continued, they pressed on, the terrifying sounds shadowing us. It was too late to turn back. I had journeyed here to visit the closest thing to the Stone Age while it was still possible. Fortune seekers and others looking for a better life had been pouring in from the hopelessly crowded mainland. Primitive tribes, so backward tribes, right? Tribes that are not, so primitives are basically people who have been living the same way for a very, very long time, thousands and thousands of years. They do not really participate in technological advancement or anything like that. Yeah. So they have lived the same way for thousands of years. Primitive tribes like the Korowai, isolated from mankind for thousands of years, were under threat. It was dangerous, but being able to witness people still living as our ancestors might have tens of thousands of years ago made the risk bearable. So here is an explorer, I think, okay, or some kind of journalist, okay, who's basically visiting primitives, and in a way that is actually quite dangerous. Now, we don't know what they are after, and the journalist here might get hurt. But in this case, the journalist says it's reasonable because it's very interesting. Spelling editing. Deepavali, the Festival of Lights, is celebrated by Hindus across the world. It is singular, right? And it's in the present tense, isn't it? So it marks the triumph of good over evil, the victory of good over evil, and light over darkness. And it's summed over, no, that's the wrong preposition. It is summed up in the simple act of lighting an oil lamp. Basically, the celebration of good over evil is basically represented, okay, very simply, by lighting an oil lamp. This is precisely, that's a spelling mistake there, what thousands of Hindu families all around Singapore do as they offer prayers and exchange gifts with one another. Not each other, which is for two people, one another. If you long for a slice of the action, not for the action, in this case, if you want to participate, that's what it means, you can head to Little India, where the streets are transformed, spelling mistake, there's an R missing, into a fantasy land of colorful arches and stunning lights. Next, inhale the scent of the lush garlands. So the garlands here are the very beautiful flower arrangements that are worn around the neck. Yeah. So lush as in very thick, and they smell nice. As you wander through the bazaars, the open markets, okay, spelling mistake there. Bazaars are open markets that look like this. This is from other countries, yeah, but bazaars are basically open markets with their glittering gold gems and exquisitely, with lots of detail, exquisitely embroidered saris, okay, very well made, okay. Next, you can also visit a Hindu home during Deepavali. Each doorway boasts, why each doorway is singular, and we are using the present tense here, a beautiful, vividly covered picture created out of rise of flower petals. It can take the form of a geometric pattern. Okay, we've got a spelling mistake there. A floral shape or the shape of animals known as rangoli. These artworks are created to usher deities into the home, to bring deities into the home. These are artwork. They will then be blessed for the year ahead. So rangoli, okay, and deities are basically gods. The humble post-it note is a common stationery item worldwide. So the humble as in what? The very simple post-it note, very common worldwide. It's blank 3M, hang on, it's blank 3M. Well, 3M, if you know general knowledge, it's the manufacturer. Sells 50 billion of the notes each year. Described as the blank to a solution nobody knew existed. So the solution to a problem. Described as the solution to a problem nobody knew existed. These squares did not take off at first, right? But I can't write at first because that's 2 words. So did not take off quickly, did not take off initially. Were not successful at first. Well, because nobody knew what it was for. They didn't know that this was a solution to a problem. In fact, the post-its were only sold 12 years after the non-damaging glue used on it was first invented. And it's true, isn't it? The glue that is used in post-it notes, they don't stick so much that, you know, it destroys the paper. Yeah, so it can be peeled off. So next, the glue was the brainchild of Spencer Silver of 3M. So was invented by this person. For years, he struggled to blank a use for his invention. He struggled to find a use for his invention as no one was convinced. No one was sure that what he was doing was useful. In 1974, Art Fry, Spencer's colleague, needed a bookmark that would stick to paper. Remember, non-damaging glue? You can stick it to a book and it doesn't damage the pages of the book. That's useful. Need a bookmark that would stick to paper without damaging it. And Spencer's glue came to his mind. When their colleagues started using the notes to pass messages in the office, they realized the full potential of the idea. It would take another 6 years before the notes were blank to the public, were available to the public, were sold to the public. Actually, available is possible as well. Were actually not the strongest answer, but still okay. Blank for its investors, the post-it notes do not need much advertising. Okay, fortunately, that's a good thing, isn't it? Do not need much advertising. That's a good thing. All right, customers would use them on documents they send to others, arousing the word arousing tells me, okay, the answer here, arousing the recipient's interest. In other words, because they were so useful, all right, more and more people were interested in them and started using them. There was no advertising needed. Okay, after trying the notes, these intrigued, very fascinated recipients would then buy or get a pad for themselves. While the post-its appear very blank, the technology behind it is very high-tech. That's the clue there. What's the opposite of high-tech? Very simple. The technology remains a closely guarded, that's a clue, okay, secret, known only to a few. Because of this humble sticky note, the co-inventors are now able to enjoy comfortable retirements. Another way of saying they earn a lot of money. And now, synthesis and transformation. This is going to be a direct to indirect speech question, and I see a word in the past tense inside the quotation marks, which means what? We need to have a had. We need to add a had. So, Mary asked where he had been. Asked Winston where he had been. So, had been comes from were. And can you use this morning? Nope, you must change it to that morning. This is a word change question. Kind, what's the noun form? Kindness. So out of kindness, Julian helped the old lady cross the road. She lied about what she had done. I was hurt. The fact that she lied about what she had done hurt me. I like cooking. I do not like washing up. Remember the hyphen in your answer. I prefer, you must use the ing, right? I prefer cooking to, prefer goes with to, washing up. The pupils can go for their recess if they have finished cleaning the class. So unless they do the good thing, the bad thing will happen. So what's the good thing here? Unless the pupils have finished cleaning the class, comma, the bad thing will happen, which is what? They cannot go for their recess. My parents migrated from America to Africa. So this is going from America to Africa to move there, actually, not just for tourism. Yeah, and I spent my growing years in Africa. Now, Africa is not a country. Africa is actually a continent, according to United Nations. having 54 countries, okay, on the African continent. So do not think of Africa as a country. Yeah, it's not. I often accompanied mother, a doctor, on her rounds. We went in a car that was outfitted, okay, that was equipped to contain a medical chest filled with equipment. So a mother's a doctor, and the mother travels around. Oh, in this mobile clinic, okay, why? This is a clinic on wheels, right? It has the equipment and it moves around. We traveled to the nearby villages around the South African town that we lived in. So specifically, this family lived in a South African town, which is a country in the African continent. Vaccination programs against the local common diseases were part of our routine. So the mother was basically vaccinating the people there. I helped with the oral vaccination for children. Makes sense. As a child, you probably won't be doing injections and all that, but it's okay to basically put pills or whatever in the mouths of children. Each child would line up in front of me for a sugar lump coated with the vaccine. Oh, okay. What's the sugar lump for? To make it nicer to swallow, yeah, tastier. Then I would call for tongues out to make sure the children had all swallowed the vaccine. So after taking it, they had to show that their tongues were basically empty, right? So to show that they actually swallowed it. My biggest problem, however, was preventing the children from lining up again to get a second sweet treat. So children loving the sugar too much would actually line up again. And because maybe they don't have names or identification, so they can't tell that, I saw you just now, okay, this is your second vaccination. Nope, you only get one. Okay, anyway, as I grew older, wars erupted among the different countries in Africa. To escape, I left for America. Went back to the country, right? And worked at a newspaper as a reporter. Years later, the newspaper assigned me to South Africa again, right, to report on the local wars. So the author went back to the country that he or she grew up in. By then, the South African town I had grown up in was cordoned off, okay, was basically separated from foreign reporters, not allowed. Now, was the author a foreigner? Okay, I pretended to be part of the local government officials who were touring the town and managed to slip in unnoticed into my childhood town. I wandered off from the group, okay, the government official group, right, and drove off to the villages where I had helped mother with her vaccination programs. Soon, I stopped at a trading store. Keen to obtain a story for my newspaper, remember now the author's a journalist, okay? I asked the storekeeper if he ever saw rebel soldiers in the village. Okay, so his wide smile quickly vanished. So that was a bad thing to say in that shop. From the farthest corner, Americans use farthest, okay? We think of furthest, right? Corner of the store, I heard metallic chinking, okay? In the corner, 6 men posed menacingly. So they looked like they were going to do harm. I had the answer that I wanted, okay? So the answer is yes, there were rebel soldiers in the village. And they were right there, 6 of them. Can you guess what the metallic chinking is? Probably the sound of the gun being chambered, right? The gun being charged. So one of them gestured to me and said, "You are coming back with us to our base." So the journalist, the author, is now being captured. After half a day, the soldier's English speaker left us and conversation stopped. My captors were rather polite as I had been cooperative from the very beginning. I could guess from their gesturing, their actions, that the stories about me became more and more embellished as we journeyed to the base camp. I had resisted. I was armed. I was a spy. So embellished basically means when you embellish a story, that means you make it sound more exciting than it actually is by often adding things that are not true. And you can tell here, we know that the writer was cooperative from the very beginning. But as the soldiers got nearer and nearer to base camp, one soldier passed on to another soldier that, oh my goodness, right? He resisted. He had weapons. He's a spy. So is that good for the author? No. Okay. More and more stories were added that had untrue details, just to make things sound more exciting. We finally reached their base on the second day. I was presented to the camp commander. Until then, I had not understood the languages they were speaking. When the commander gave his orders, it was in the familiar African dialect that I had grown up with. Hesitantly, I greeted him in what I could remember of the dialect. He was amazed and asked me where I had learned the dialect. I told him I had grown up around that area. He asked me again for my name, and I told him, Peter Godwin. So we know now the author's a male. Was your mother Dr. Godwin, the doctor who vaccinated the villagers here for free? He asked, and I nodded. Smiling, he pulled out his sleeve and showed me a small vaccination scar on his shoulder. And you were the one who gave me the sugar lump, he exclaimed. Shaking my hands enthusiastically, he ordered his soldiers to immediately release me and to take me back to the trading store. Now, in case you didn't know, if you are labeled a spy, the likely punishment is death. And because of his ability to speak the dialect from having lived in that area, it saved his life, probably. At the trading store, I was returned the things that had been confiscated. Before I left, my 4 companions insisted on a formal photograph. I still have the photograph and evidence that good deed pays off. The good deed here referring to what, right? What he and the mother did, which was to vaccinate children and villagers for free. Okay, question 1. Where did the writer spend his childhood? Please do not write Africa. Okay, it's more specific than that, right? The South African town that we lived in. So it's not Africa, it's South Africa. What does the phrase "this mobile clinic" refer to? Now, is it an actual mobile clinic? Not really. Now, notice that it's 2 marks. So it refers to the author's mother's car. That's the first thing. That's 1 mark, which was outfitted to contain a medical chest filled with equipment. That's the 2nd mark. What problem did the writer face? Okay, notice problem, we are talking about 1 problem here. Alright, when giving out the oral vaccine. So the good thing is, if you look at the text, there's a giant word here, my biggest problem. So you know that you're going to read around there. Alright, so what problem did the writer face? The question carries 2 marks though. The answer is preventing the children from getting a double dose. That's 1 mark. By lining up again in order to get a second sweet treat. That's where your 2nd mark comes from. I'm guessing most students would actually just copy this part, right? The biggest problem was preventing the children from lining up again to get a second sweet treat. Now that carries only 1 mark. Stopping the children from lining up again to get a second sweet treat. Do you notice what the problem is? The issue here is, writing this alone doesn't tell me the problem. The question is asking, what is the problem? Lining up again to get a second sweet treat. Is that a problem? No, the problem is a double dose of the vaccine. Okay, so I would say this part here, obviously you don't see double dose in the question, in the text. All right, I came up with this. Understand that the sugar lump is basically containing the vaccine, and getting a double dose is a problem, right? It is not a good thing. So I'm basically answering the question here, the problem, and this is inferred. This is not found in the text. That's the difficulty of this question, okay? But this 2nd part here will get you 1 mark. It's found right here. In paragraph 3, how did the writer gain access? Now, what is the meaning of gain access to the South African town? Gain access as in to get in there. So from the text, you can tell, right, I pretended to be part of the local government officials who were touring the town. Well, the question carries 2 marks though, and managed to slip in unnoticed into my childhood town. That's how he gained access. That's how he got entry into the place. So the answer is, number 1, he pretended to be part of the local government officials who were touring the town, 1 mark, and managed to slip in unnoticed, 2nd mark. Find words from para 3 and 4 which have the same meaning as the words here. Broke out, as in erupted. Okay, fighting erupted. Signal, gestured. So to gesture is to signal something with your body movements, right? Use 1 word. Okay, next, eager, as in keen. Enthusiastic. 76. Explain clearly why this white smile quickly vanished. Okay, when you see explain clearly, this is not exactly a direct question. You have to actually write in your own words, because that's what explaining means. When you explain something, you're not supposed to just read the text. Okay, so why did the smile vanish? Well, why would anyone's smile vanish? Because there's something bad, isn't it? If you look here, his white smile vanished quickly. All right. From the father's corner, metallic chinking. You need to infer that here we're talking about guns. Yeah. And 6 men posed menacingly, right, causing it looked like they were about to cause harm. All right, you're coming back with us to our base. Okay, you need to infer. Why would somebody's smile vanish? It's not found in the text, but you need to know that the storekeeper was frightened. Why would he be frightened? Okay, number one, why did the smile vanish? He was frightened. Okay, now what caused him to feel that way? Because the writer had asked if there were rebel soldiers in the village, and there were 6 of them in his store. So this is a tough question, and hopefully you understand the answer. Alright, sequence of events. So the very first one was the writer gave African children oral vaccines, right? That's way back when he was still not yet an adult. Then he went back to America and then returned to Africa to write about the war as a journalist. And finally, that event where he almost got in trouble, but the commander remembered him. So the last one is actually the top one. That's number 3 up there. And then the first one is here, and then the second one. Explain clearly, again, not a direct question, why the commander was surprised when the writer first spoke to him. So you can tell here that he was surprised. But why was the commander surprised? This is a completely inferential question. Yeah, you need to infer a lot here. Now, do you notice that they didn't mention why he was surprised? He was surprised, he was amazed, and asked me where I had learned the dialect. Okay, so he did not expect an American to be able to speak an African dialect. 79, true or false? The writer left Africa to take up a job as a reporter. Did the writer leave Africa where he grew up to become a reporter? No, it was mentioned that he left Africa to escape the wars that erupted in the region. As shown here, wars erupted to escape. I left for America. So it was not to get a job as a reporter, it was to escape the wars. What the captors said about the writer was all true. All true? No. Okay, we know that the answer is definitely false, right? The stories were not all true. The thing now is we're going to decide, what do we write as our answer? Do you write this? He had resisted, he was armed, he was a spy. The stories became more and more embellished. I'll tell you what is the strongest answer here. Okay, the strongest answer is to say, this is the reality compared to what they said, which was false. Okay. He had been cooperative from the very beginning, the writer. But some soldiers said that he had resisted. See that? So the best answer is using the information given to us. This was the reality, whereas this was the claim that was false. So I wouldn't choose stories embellished. This is, to me, the worst answer because it doesn't really prove anything, right? Just to say that the stories were embellished. They said that he was armed, they said that he was a spy, but here we can say this was what happened compared to what was claimed. That's the strongest answer. Therefore, I would say, obviously, false. They claimed that he had resisted when he had been cooperative from the beginning. That's the answer. Next, the commander spoke in a language that the writer understood. That is true. Okay, the commander gave orders in an African dialect that he was familiar with. Last question. I still have to photograph and evidence that that good deed pays off. Okay, in what way, just one way here, one way, had his mother's work resulted in a positive outcome for the writer? Oh my goodness, 2 marks. Okay, so this is a tough one because it's not exactly found obviously in the text, is it? You have to read the entire text and form your own answer. So if you look at the text, understand that the writer was either going to be held hostage or killed, okay, which was the usual penalty for being a spy. And here, the commander was saying, okay, your mother, the one who came here to vaccinate villagers for free, and immediately ordered the release of the author. Now, what can you tell from this? That the commander was grateful. Grateful for what? In what way did the mother's work benefit the author, right? So it was the fact that the commander was grateful for the mother's free vaccination that basically allowed the author to escape death. So this is not actually a direct question. You have to zoom out and read and understand the text and form your own answer. So the commander's gratitude for his mother's free vaccination had saved him from being held hostage or killed. 1 mark for gratitude for mother's free vaccination. In what way had the mother's work? This part of the mother's work caused him to be grateful. And what's the positive outcome? Saved him from being killed or held hostage. So this concludes this paper. Hopefully you had some benefit from it. Have a good day.